Hey there, I'm Ivana and you're listening to Mind Matters. Welcome to Season 4, The Brain on Desire. This season, I am digging into the cognitive forces fueling our cravings, from the way we love to the luxuries we chase. In each episode, I'll share science-backed insights and real-life stories to help you understand your deepest drives. Ready to find out why we want what we want? Why are people and creatives especially scared of AI? Maybe it's not fear of the machines themselves. Maybe it's fear of what they trigger in us. A few months ago, OpenAI released Sora, a text-to-video generator that turns words into cinematic magic. In seconds, it can build worlds, animate ideas, and rewrite how we create. For some, it felt like rocket fuel for the imagination. For others, a quiet panic set in. Suddenly, artists, filmmakers, designers, people whose entire identity rests on being original were asking, if anyone can create anything, what's the point of my ideas? This isn't just about AI, it's about desire. Because what we want and how we go after it depends on two modes of thinking that shape every decision we make. Divergent thinking opens the menu of possibilities, while convergent thinking makes the choice. If we lean too far into one, we get overwhelmed or stuck. But when we learn to switch between them, we unlock a kind of creative clarity, a way to channel desire with purpose. In today's episode, I'll show you how understanding this mental switch can not only help you handle change and uncertainty, but actually design better habits, navigate tech disruption that is yet to come, and reclaim your power to choose what you truly want. Let's dig in. Picture two versions of the same morning. Version A, you shuffle into the kitchen, swipe the coffee into the grinder, and before you've truly awakened, steam curls above a cup that tastes exactly like yesterday's. Habit, humming along. Version B, same kitchen, same half-open eyes. But today, you freeze. Your hand hovers between the oat milk carton and the French press plunger. Maybe it's a smoothie day. Maybe you're craving the blueberry ginger oatmeal you saw on TikTok. Maybe. Those twin mornings illustrate the desire switch. The moment your mind toggles between divergent possibility making and convergent choice locking. One mode opens a sprawling menu, the other picks the dish and tells the waiter, make it snappy. Okay, let me lay out this episode for you. I will explain how to spot the exact instant your brain flips that switch. Hack bad habits by staging tiny divergent delays. And explore how two breaking news stories, one about AI that makes movies, the other about an app so addictive the US Supreme Court said enough, are supercharging, and sometimes short-circuiting, the desire switch for millions. Because desire isn't a mysterious feeling floating above your cortex, it's a pattern. Electrical, chemical, trainable. Get fluent in that pattern and you can steer anything from tonight's dessert to a decade-long career path. Desire always starts the same way. Raw energy. Long before a craving reaches consciousness, subcortical structures, your ventral striatum, your midbrain dopamine centers, throw a little party. Lights blink, drums pound, neurons shout. Something's missing. Go get it. At that first spark, nothing is specific. It's just activation. The story only changes when higher order networks sculpt that energy into a want. Enter our two heroes. Divergent thinking mode generates ideas, imagines futures, let's call it the dreamer. And convergent thinking mode narrows options, commits to action, let's call it the decider. Divergent thinking is a creative dreamer. What if breakfast could also be a mini vacation? It riffs, remixes, prototypes. That's great for invention, but terrible for deadlines. Linger too long and you drown in possibilities. Convergent thinking is the judge. Fun ideas, folks, but we're picking one. It loves efficiency, hates ambiguity, and slams the door once the decision lands. Most of us have a stronger side. If you are divergent heavy, you chase shiny objects, new workouts, new side hustles, then wonder why nothing sticks. And if you're convergent heavy, you live a groove-carved routines. Reliable, sure, but secretly bored. The secret sauce is rhythm. Think of a jazz trio. Piano improvises, divergent. Bass lays down a progression, convergent. Drummer cues, the transitions. Healthy desire pulses the same way. Expand, contract. Expand again. Let's set up a mini case. You're doom scrolling every night at 9 p.m. You try the blunt force promise, I'll quit my phone. It fails. Why? Because you skip the divergent stage. The brain hates a desire vacuum, so it grabs the nearest candy, your feed. Here is a better plan. Cue, 9 p.m., phone itch. Divergent burst, list 5 alternatives that hit the same dopamine note. Anything from music, comic books, journaling, chamomile tea with honey to calling grandma. Then convergent commit. Tonight, pick one, say the comic books, and prep it before 9 p.m. You didn't strangle desire, you rechanneled it. Now, let's see this in full Technicolor fMRI. A 2024 meta-analysis led by neuroscientist Guy Morin tracked participants as they generated and rated their own ideas. The scanner caught something wild, the valuation tag, in other words, that gut sense of original versus useful, appears just milliseconds after an idea pops up, and long before people declare a preference. Meanwhile, newer work from Johansson mapped 3 repeating brain states during creative storytelling. Subjects cycled from imagination heavy to evaluation heavy to integration, when both networks are humming. The faster a participant toggled, the more creative and the more decisive their final product, meaning the quicker these states changed in people, the more creative personality they are. Translation, your cortex is running tiny divergent convergent sprints thousands of times a day. You rarely notice, yet those microflips are choosing your lunch, your Netflix pick, your lover, your life. So here is a one-word cue to hack it. Pause. Saying pause out loud has been shown to jolt the salience network by 200 to 300 milliseconds of cognitive airtime and hand the steering wheel back to you. Try it the next time you reach for the phone. Tiny hinge, huge door. February 28th, 2025, The Guardian splashes a headline across breakfast tables. Sora, OpenAI's video generator, has hit the UK. Creatives are worried. Sora is text-to-video on steroids. Type Victorian London in neon cyberpunk and watch a 30-second film spool out in 60 seconds. Director Tyler Perry freezes expansion of his Atlanta studios after seeing test footage. Advertising agencies begin pitching entire campaigns that never set foot on a soundstage. This is divergent mode weaponized, infinite what-ifs, zero friction. Yet, behind the excitement lurks a convergent panic of artists and creatives. Does my editing job survive? Do I pivot now or pray the tech gods? If every brand can spawn 10,000 ads overnight, how does any idea stand out? Well, let's turn this around. Every survival depends on a nimble switch. Adaptation. How? Well, 1. Divergent welcome. Play with the tool. See its glitches, its gems. 2. Convergent sculpt. Decide your niche. Story doctor, prompt engineer, hybrid live action specialist. And 3rd loop. Re-alternate every month. The tech is mutating that fast. Those who freeze at either pole, overwhelm, or denial, risk obsolescence. The desire switch, once a private cottage mechanism, is now global industrial equipment. Learn to drive it or get driven. And here is another angle. January 17, 2025, in Washington, D.C., marble columns echo with a different headline. Supreme Court upholds ban or sale law that could shut TikTok on January 19th. Silly Teen app meets the 9 robed justices. The reason? National security fears, yes, but also an undercurrent, the platform's hyper-tuned dopamine engine. State lawsuits label the algorithm addictive, engineered for compulsive use. Overnight, 170 million US users confront an involuntary desire switch. Divergent panic. Where will I go for laughs, news, trends, identity? Convergent reality check. You have 48 hours to download your archives or lose them forever. Influencers scramble to migrate followings to YouTube Shorts. Teens rediscover Instagram Reels. Small businesses dust off email lists. The craving for tiny bursts of novelty crashes into the hard wall of policy. The bigger lesson? When external forces flip your switch for you, it hurts. Practicing these self-flips, in other words, when you practice voluntary divergences and shift them into disciplined convergences, you build resilience, in case one day a court or corporation decides to control it for you. All right, enough headline firestorms. Let's get practical. I call this toolkit the habit loop overlay, and it goes something like this. Cue, divergent burst, convergent commit, reward, review. I stole the skeleton from Charles Duhigg's cue routine reward, then grafted the divergent convergent part. Step 1. Identify a microcue. Something frequent, unglamorous. Example. Laptop lid closes at 5 p.m. That's your trigger. Step 2. Divergent burst, 90 seconds. Set a timer. Brain dump at least 8 ways you could channel the energy. Quantity over quality, crummy ideas. Welcome. Your imagination loves freedom from judgment. Step 3. Convergent commit 15 seconds. Scan the list. Circle the option that sparks both practicality, I can actually do this tonight, and intrigue. It's not totally stale. And then declare it aloud. Step 4. Immediate reward. Pair the chosen action with a shot of pleasure. Upbeat playlist, scented candle, gold star sticker. You're teaching the striatum to associate switch mastery with dopamine. Step 5. 2-minute review for the next morning. Did the action scratch the original itch? If not, tweak the burst next time. Something that is more fun. Here's an example. You have an evening stress snack loop. You want to break it. The old loop looks something like this. Cue, close work tab, mind fuzz. Routine, drift to pantry, graze on chips. Try this new overlay. Cue, close work tab. Then divergent burst. List 8 decompression moves. Walk, hot shower, foam roll, solitary dance, green tea, 3 yoga poses. Commit, say, hot shower with favorite playlist. And the reward? Bodily relief in a soothing shower with your favorite tunes. Repeat this 4 nights, and the brain learns. When laptop closes, we pivot to hot shower plus music. Desire repatterned. And if you feel like an advanced drill, try the Divergent Dozen plus dice roll. First, list 12 alternatives to counter your bad loop. Then, roll the dice twice. And do the rolled item, even if it's the silly number 11, sing karaoke to my dog. Why the randomness? It shatters choice paralysis and strengthens decision agility. Studies on meta-control show creative performance spikes when we willingly surrender microcontrol once in a while. It's like interval training for the prefrontal cortex. And how does this switch play out in social settings? When teams brainstorm, they often mash divergent and convergent in the same meeting. Idea, critique, idea, dismissal. That kills flow. Instead, try meeting 1, Monday. Pure ideas storming, no evaluation. Add a gap day, Tuesday. Everyone sleeps on it. Let everyone's imagination fuse concepts. Meeting 2, Wednesday. Rapid converge. Rank, discard, assign. Companies using this cadence, shout out to Danish design firm Futurefield, report 27% faster project kickoff, plus happier creatives. And let's talk the digital safety switch. Borrow from our TikTok saga, pre-commit real-world speed bumps. Think, app timers that lock after 20 minutes, charging phone outside bedroom, you name it. Each bump is a forced pause, handing your switch a manual gear shift. And now I would like to explain how the rest of the Mind Matters podcast episodes circle around the desire switch I talked in this episode. Episode 5 is the pivot point of the season. It introduces the toggle button, that memento moment flip between divergent what ifs and convergent let's do's. Once you, as listeners, understand that mechanism, every other topic in the lineup becomes easier to decode. Here's how each previous episode either sets the stage for or applies the desire switch. In the last episode, is authenticity overrated? The driving question was, what does being real even mean? And is it always the ideal? Here, the divergent thinking lets us try on multiple selves like costumes, exploring who we could be. Convergent thinking insists on a single coherent identity, sometimes boxing us into a brand of authenticity that no longer fits. And in the episode, Fake It Till You Break It, the cost of chasing old money style. The driving question was, why do we adopt glossy personas and what price do we pay for the performance? Here, the divergent imagination fuels status fantasies. Mansions, Ivy League networks, tweed blazers in Tuscany, while convergent logic signs the checks, financial, emotional, ethical, that keeping up appearances eventually demands. And in the episode on attraction and attachment relationship desires, the driving question was, how do initial sparks and deeper attachment styles shape what and whom we want? Divergent mode here generates an endless gallery of ideal partners, but convergent mode filters them through attachment patterns, narrowing the list to people who feel both exciting and safe, or in anxious loops, familiar yet frustrating. We live in a time of unprecedented creative power and paradoxically creative confusion. Desire used to be about lack. You wanted something because you couldn't have everything. You narrowed your options because there weren't that many to begin with. But now, we're flooded. In a world of infinite tools, infinite ideas, and infinite scrolling, what shapes our choices? Today, I talked about how the balance between divergent and convergent thinking is the hidden motor behind desire, how one mode opens the field of imagination, while the other selects the next step. Now, this mental switch matters more than ever, and if Sora was one wake-up call to creatives, here's another. In March 2025, Vogue Business published a headline, AI models are booking runway shows. Real models are left wondering what's next. Yes, virtual models, entirely generated by machine, are now walking digital runways and starring in ad campaigns. They don't age, don't eat, don't need visas or sleep. It's efficient, but it's also unsettling. Real models, the ones who've worked for years to cultivate their unique look, presence, and personal brand, now face a question no one was prepared to answer. If someone can generate beauty on demand, what makes me desirable? This isn't just an industry shift. It's a mirror. When we see a tool that mimics creativity or beauty or even personality, our instinctive desire to matter, to stand out, to be needed is challenged. And that's when your thinking style becomes your compass. If you default to convergent mode, you might freeze. Play it safe. Resist change. But if you stay too long in divergent mode, you drown in hypotheticals, endlessly imagining but never choosing. The real power is in the switch. When you feel that discomfort, that internal clash between inspiration and insecurity, and that's the moment to pause, breathe, Open the mental menu. Then choose what still feels true. Commit, even when the path is uncertain, because the core truth hasn't changed. Desire is not about what's possible, it's about what's meaningful. And meaning is something no algorithm can generate for you. That's your job. Master the switch. And you'll master desire, not just in your work, but in your life. Desire is rocket fuel, potent, volatile, but astonishingly steerable. So the next time your stomach growls, your finger twitches toward an app, or your ambition sparks a wild new plan, pause. Let divergent thinking set the table. Then invite convergent thinking to choose the first bite. Until next time, stay curious, stay grounded, and above all, let your mind matter. I will link all the studies and references in the show's description. If you found this discussion insightful, please consider sharing it with friends, family, or colleagues. Let's keep the conversation going about how we can make this affluent corner of Europe a healthier, more equitable place for everyone. Until next time, remember, your mind matters, and taking care of it is the best investment you'll ever make.